All right, here we go. It's time for the Monday, April 7th crossword of the year 2025. Finally home from the ACPT, back on the West Coast. Lots of time spent at airports and on planes, so finally rested up and ready to do this. Just a few things to note before going into it. I'll potentially put something together for what went down. I just don't know if I have the time. More on this later. But it did help with a variety of thoughts on things I could use this channel for. So I'll talk more about it later, but basically things around the format. So even potentially solving on paper, more conscious solving strategies, and also considerations for if I'm trying to do something for time, then I won't be able to talk through things, or types of content. Currently, I'm just solving, and the video is just whatever length that ends up being. So, what else can I potentially do? And also, maybe even trying to get engagement. Not really my goal. Um, I don't really, this is more about just, hey, where does this go for me with making videos, recording videos, and am I going to be able to find the time to get into video editing? But there are benefits in getting more engagement, or getting engagement in general. So I'll talk a little bit about more of these things later, but about 2 minutes into the video without solving, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Cool, so here we go. Already see some grade squares. We'll see what this comes out to be. So, insect that flies toward lights at night, that's going to be your moth. I'll even pen that in. Let's check the downs here. So, malt liquor is going to be your number one. Little injury and baby talk is going to be owie. Sometimes it's with an E, but usually it'll be with an I, and hopefully it's with an I. I think when they start giving the alternate spellings is when they're struggling for something. So I'll keep going, but interpreter's job, I don't know off the top of my head, so we'll skip. Church songbook would be hymnal. Just things you know. So we'll continue with the crosses. So your choice. Don't know, could be an option, but 4 letters only, so we'll check the downs. GIF, I'm not sure, but smidgen, you're going to usually get iota there. Times a wastin could be ASAP. From Nairobi, e.g., I'm going to guess will be African, and that's not good. So it's going to be the country itself, but I don't know what country Nairobi's in. I assume Nairobi's not a country even. I don't know all the countries in Africa. There's a lot of them. I'm just going to keep going. Anyways, be loose lip could be like blab, tell, something like that. So if we look at the downs, spreadable cheese, often baked, so it's going to be brie. Baked brie is a thing. Captain's log is his record book. Ash Ketchum from Pokemon. And play poker or roulette, say bet. Gamble won't fit, so bet's your best bet. And that fills out blab. I can't even remember if that's one of the things I said. I know that I said 2 things. The second one was tell, and I think the first one was blab. I don't know. See, I can't even remember things. So we're going to keep going. Off kilter, I think that away may be an adequate way to fill that in. Trevi Fountain, locale would be Rome. Spelling it in the American way with E, not Roma, because the clue is not in using Italian words. Times a wasting, remove the S there, and or ASAP, so don't know what I'll replace it with, so I'm going to keep going. Non-poetry, that's going to be prose, and Pentium is the Intel chip. I didn't read the whole clue. It's not going to be anything else. All right, Liam Neeson's. Oh, this is going to be a rye, huh? Okay, that's why. All right, we'll keep going though. Let me talk through a little. Off kilter, I put away just because that was a word that fit. Awry, not as common as a word of away, but is the correct answer for off kilter. Not quite right. Awry. And I thought away was like a really bad but not surprising word that someone might put in there. So rolled with it. There we go. All right, school on the tom. Eton. I don't know. But that's your school. Crazy Eights is your card game. The 8 is the wild card in that game. So we'll keep going. Court summons. Court is this likely tennis. But what would the play on words be with summons? Don't know. So I'll just check the downs here. If I were you. Again, quotes can be hard to fill in sometimes, but this is kind of filling in 2 words or 3 letters, should I say, of a quote. So what would work there? If I make a selection, will be opt, very likely. All right, court summons. We'll keep going. Umpire's call is going to be safe, well suited, apt. Uma Thurman is your actress. Baseball score due to the defensive team's error is an unearned run. If you know. Someone with an experienced advisor, mentee, and Adams family is very likely the one that they're asking for. Having a benevolent goal in mind, well-intentioned. Okay, let's check all the downs. Doing reach by foot, walk to, rap god, rapper, Eminem. Is that correct? Score that leads to overall time, tie, English county. Is it going to be Essex? I'm going to even pen that X in. Essex. Big brand name, nail polish. No clue. We'll keep going. Doctor's orb. That'll be AMA. 'Tis but a scratch, invert a bend, beamed with excitement, lit up. ET's vehicle would be a UFO. These days you would put UAP, but have not seen that pop up in the crossword yet. At least I'm seeing UFO way more often than UAP. Interest rate unit would be a percent. I don't know if I call percent a unit at all. But sure, throw that word in there. Top left key would be escape. Dove sound is a coup. Miata, so Opie would be your nail polish brand that tends to pop up. I just never remember it because it's just another 3-letter word of filler. I guess you could call machete a knife, so we'll throw that in. Long time would be an eon. Some broadcasts updating current events would be something. News something is what I guess, but I'm gonna go ahead and skip it because I don't know what would fill it out, and I don't know if it's plural where the S would go, the middle or the end, with news or at the very end, so I'll skip it. REM, rapid eye movement, would be your sleep stage acronym. And you'll notice that 10 to 1 is what's happening. 10, 1 are the shaded letters already in here, so I'd be able to even go back up to 19 across. I thought it was tennis. I didn't know how to fill the rest out, so I just left it. Just more confidence in that being tennis is all, but we'll go back to it in a bit. All right, instruments for John Coltrane and tennis and Sonny are all in, so tenor saxophones very likely. I'll check the downs now. 46, 47, prince but not a princess. Don't know. And zaniness, but also don't know. 48, 49, Claude Buster could be a hoe. And Peter, something of Lawrence of Arabia, don't know. So we'll keep going. Cry of surprise in a text, OMG. And we can check 3 down. Interpreter's job is translating. We'll go ahead and throw that tennis in there. Gift would be a present. Choice, we'll come back to. Doesn't stand out to me, obviously. So prose counterpart would be con. Mechanical memorization would be wrote. big payout potential, or a hint to the words in the shaded squares and the clue numbers on which they begin. 10, 1, and we'll see what the downs become. Vehicle with a gun turret, so that could be tank. Or concerned with protecting workers, that's going to be OSHA. Football cries would be Ole. Item for exhibition, could be anything. Soaks up, let's go with sops up. Let's pen that in even. Big payout, 10 to 1 odds. So there you go. Let's check this down. Item for exhibition would be a demo, not necessarily even a physical item, but there are demo models too. Nut for Thanksgiving pie, pecan, buddy pal, inflated self-importance would be ego, corporate bigwig, very likely CEO, could be another C-level exec. Castaway's home would be an aisle. Oreo has the right stuff, double stuff to be specific. Agent is your representative, got that all filled out. You gnaw on something, you chew on it. Bit of coal or sugar, could be a lump. 66 across, cry made while pointing is a look. Pert reply would be sass likely. Let's double check. So antics, zaniness, sure. And it is news, but it was NPR news. So again, that's what kind of what I was getting at is I would have, because I had that first N, I wouldn't have put NPR, I would have put news, would have had the S floating around where the N here is, would have gotten confused for a moment because of the theme with 10 and 1, and wouldn't have thrown the S at the end here, but that's where the S goes. So Sass, first son of Seth, would be Enos. O'Toole would be this Peter folk. And now we can just go back to the section that I didn't complete. So time's a wastin'. I'm on, I guess, could be it. From Nairobi, so Kenyan. No, Bisan. That's not going to be it. Let's fill in Kenyan, because I feel better about that. All right, choice would be your pick. So time's a wastin' would be come on, not I'm on, but come on. So that N would still be valid there. And court summons would be tennis anyone is something you're saying. So there you have it. It spent almost 11 minutes doing all of this, but I did this to do my best to kind of talk through the thought process again. And did it much slower than usual. I don't know if I would have been able to speed through this, and I'll admit I am a little tired. So I'm surprised it did take 11 minutes. But yes, not much to go over here for the puzzle itself. But if you notice anything of how I was trying to solve, it's a little bit of a hint to what I was getting at with what I potentially may do with how I solve these. So when you're solving online, you have the clues highlighted as well as the answer, and it's very easy to dart your eyes back and forth. Uh-oh, I'm lagging. There we go. The problem when you do this pencil and paper is that you don't have constant highlighters, so you have to either keep your place or gather the information from one place as you shoot back to the other. And I want to test out both, because even if you're marking things, you have to remember why you're marking them, and that in itself can be confusing. So for me, marking things, I tended to mark things I really need to look at. There's no pen pencil concept, so being able to note something I filled in for review was the most important part for me to not have to go back and review the entire puzzle and lose a lot of time. The second strategy I had mentioned of potentially looking at all of the downs, I was trying to do that for some of these. Looking at all of the downs and seeing which one to fill out first is also a strategy for that can help. Maybe just seeing of the 3 or 4 which I know for sure and filling that out, as opposed to going one by one, is part of it. And also I realized I was looking at the clues first, and so I had general ideas of what I think it could be. And when I looked back at the board, at the grid, it may not have been what I was expecting, and that was just kind of lost time. So actually looking at the grid first, then seeing the clues, so that at least can maybe build a habit of filtering out what can fit, or at least getting a little bit of a head start and limiting the amount of options is what I want to try to be able to do. So not as impactful online, but if I were to solve this on paper, could be a huge difference. The last thing I was trying to intentionally do that I didn't really do consistently, but I found myself doing on paper, was because it's so hard to dart back and forth, you can't tab between the things that you're missing, and it's not going to just bring you to it automatically. So if I did not have a section filled out, or if I didn't get it down, I would only revisit it if I originally thought or had inserted something for the down but removed it because an across took it out. So I've been kind of doing this with these solves already, but it kind of solidified the need to do that, because if I didn't have a good idea and it didn't click for enough for me to put something down, getting another across probably isn't going to move the needle too much. So I would revisit it once I filled in the last row, or once I got to the last row at the very least. And maybe if I felt good enough about trying to look back at the clue and filling it in. So for a lot of the puzzles, doing a strategy, and then also once filling that in, just working my way back up to the left. Oh, my video is freezing, but there we go. But yeah, if I was able to revisit and get correctly some of the downs, then I was able to kind of crawl my way back and potentially fill that section. Then the onus would be finding where I left off, because I spent so much time. But what's the next blank thing that I can go to? Hopefully I don't, or where did I not get to so far? So because the puzzles there tend to be so solvable, at least at ACPT, you can kind of just go where you haven't gone to yet, and it's easy to just assume that if I did not go anywhere, at least on my first pass through, that's a part I'm going to need to get a little more brain power in. So yeah, that's a lot of food for thought on how I could potentially improve solving on paper. That doesn't necessarily translate well to doing things online, because it just makes you that much more efficient by default. Anyways, so it's still well over the end time of the video, but the things I did want to say first. So for potentially recording content for how the ACPT went for me, there's just a small chance that I do anything, even if I have time. I'm just not accustomed to recording in general in real time, so I don't really have anything to put together other than me kind of just bitching about the airport. I definitely didn't do any recordings in between, between just not being used to it, not wanting to be seen doing it. I guess that's something that people just kind of get used to, and a little weird. Even if I did record, I'd be spackling together things like into an incoherent video because I didn't prepare anything. So that would become that last leg of if I were to do this, I would actually need to think beforehand, what would actually go in the video, what would I actually want to record, and not just, again, do things haphazardly. On the note of variety of content, or yeah, on the note of what I could use this channel for, I forgot what I had already mentioned earlier, but as I was kind of talking through format already, potentially solving on paper, being more conscious of solving strategies. So right now, I just slowly talked through this Monday. It took what, 11 minutes, when I could have just blasted through it. So maybe having one where I'll solve for time, and that means the dialogue will be minimal to none, but then that gets into a world of types of content, or am I going to be able to maybe do a week in review or a smaller piece of content where I could talk through certain things of interest? I don't know. Right now, what I'm doing with just recording what I'm solving, it I got tired after a month last time. Can't say it won't happen faster this time, but it's, again, tiring. It gets repetitive and can be boring. I can potentially make more content that dives more into strategies like I talked about here, but I only talked about, I didn't demonstrate it. So again, being able to just use all the avenues to put something actually in action together, maybe going over types of clues, especially for the week again, considering different days of the week, how different answers may be clued, especially if it popped up multiple times in the past week or month. And something that's big at ACPT is that people really know constructors, so getting super meta about it is, what are the likely things that a constructor will put into their puzzles, being able to create a spreadsheet or database around that. What are the dimensions that matter? So it'd be a huge investment in time to do something like that, and even huger investment in time to be able to edit down and review content into that state. So it'd be very interesting to be able to do all this, but again, the investment part, I don't know if I'll be able to do any of that. Another type of content would even be extracting meta content. So right now I'm just talking about doing the video. These things can be extracted to different videos so that I don't just drag these on for things that's not necessarily what they're the core reason they exist. So being able to make that line of videos, and lastly, like just engagement in general, less focused about the making of the content itself, but how do I get more people watching? How do I get people giving feedback? My goal isn't necessarily to get more people watching, but there is benefit to it. It could be motivating just to be seen. Obviously, I may be doing this for myself, but it's nice even if the numbers are just passive. And in contrast to passive would be potentially getting actual feedback. So I don't plan on scripting myself while I'm solving, but if I ever get feedback, it may help with a sign of something that is or isn't working out, whether it's talking too much or too little, or I don't know if I'm cursing too much, or if I'm making references that aren't conducive to interest, or if people want more stupid references, anecdotes, so things like that, or even just naming title of the videos if there's any relevance to it. Supplemental content and links if they exist. Those are things that just come to mind that make the videos more than just the core of the video, is something more engaging in general. So these are all things that I had thought of coming out of ACPT, but again, no real thoughts on moving forward with them. If I were to start doing anything around edited videos, I'd have to just, what is my kind of vision? I won't necessarily have the tools in place, so I'd have to kind of stick to my bag of tricks that I picked up from work. So leveraging spreadsheets and slideshows in lieu of, cool stuff, which those in themselves can be cool, and then in turn can be different kinds of content. So in that meta area, so that'd probably be one I'd be more comfortable assembling and talking over. But yeah, for now, I don't plan on doing any of those, but it's just stuff that has come to mind if I do end up getting free time, or if I make the free time outside of all the other stuff I'm trying to do. So it'd be fun, it'd be cool, especially if I continue with this hobby and, attend again next year. And yeah, I think that's all I got. That was me talking for an additional like 15 minutes or something. So gonna just call it. Thanks for watching. If you stuck around this long, yeah, drop a comment, whatnot. See ya.